So first I'm going to kind of paraphrase another speaker who kind of operates along your same tone in America, Jordan Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
So one of the things that he often talks about is at the basis or the premise of the ongoing debate between conservatism versus liberalism is that at the basis of each, conservatism is like the protection of the hierarchy, whereas on the liberal side, it's more so the protection and promotion of egalitarianism. And so my question to you is, one thing that he makes clear is that both sides are necessary for, or are ideal in a country that moves forward at a fast pace as the United States has done. And so my question to you is, it seems as though you have a more hostile, you have such a hostility towards liberals and leftists, whereas I don't often hear you at all say that there's anything that you can learn from their side. In his book, 12 Rules of Life, one of the chapters is assume that the person in which you're speaking with has something to offer you as far as intellectually that you may learn from them. So my question to you is, I guess, what is your position? Like, do you feel as though a liberal, or obviously a liberal, but liberals in general or leftists in general have anything to bring to the table from an ideology standpoint or intellectually?
I mean, passion for change is obviously, it can be a good thing when directed in the proper channels. As you say, the left's focus on egalitarianism is good so long as it is focused on the equal application of rights, not on the false attempts to override biology and natural hierarchies. So I think Jordan would agree with me on the idea that if you butt up against a natural hierarchy, or if you butt up against natural differences, because I don't think every difference is a hierarchy. If you butt up against natural difference, you butt up against reality. Trying to override reality with artificial equality is going to be a giant failure and can, as Jordan would say, murder millions in the process, right? That's what Jordan thinks communism was basically there are differences between human beings. Failure to respect those differences is what, in the name of equality, is what leads to the gulags. So while Jordan is, I think he's a little bit less robust in the language that he uses with regard to the left. He's just as anti-left with regard to the focus on hardcore egalitarianism, where the left. So I do think, and I do make a distinction between, as I've said, liberals and the left. The left is a far more censorious force. They want to censor a lot more. They're a lot more tyrannical. They want to control a lot more from the top. People who are liberals, who are arguing over the proper scope of government in particular areas, there I think there's plenty to learn, and I think that you can have fulsome exchanges about the nature of what sort of social welfare state can be supported or is appropriate, and you can have a data exchange on that sort of thing. Where you can't really have an exchange is when you're running up against, is when people are falsifying the facts, as they are when they say that men and women are exactly the same, for example. So I appreciate the critique, and I'll try to take that to heart. And I think that, and I will acknowledge also that I think that folks had a lot more to learn from the left in the 1960s than they do now, because the country has moved in a lot of very good ways since the 1960s, and in some bad ways since the 1960s.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.